Taking a look at today's equity index futures markets, let's take a look at the S&P 500 futures today as they're realizing a nice bounce back today. A strong day for the S&P 500 futures after 3 days of selling pressure late last week, where we did see 3 consecutive lower closes. Big recovery day today, and not only for the S&P 500 futures, we saw the NASDAQ, the Russell, and the Dow futures all have a nice day as well. And currently looking at the S&P 500 futures right around the 3109 level, and that's the top end of the range for the day. And again, a very volatile session here. If you look at how the price action played out late Friday into this morning, we did see the S&P 500 futures close at a discount on Friday and then trading lower initially overnight, but regaining some of their footing here today and then having a nice strong run throughout the day to close basically at the highs of the day. And we look at the driving factors. First and foremost, I think the COVID-19 situation, there were concerns going into the weekend that some of these states may slow down their reopening measures. And those states, if you take the 11 states that are realizing an increase, I should say, in the number of cases, that's 40% of the GDP of the U.S. So there were concerns that if those reopening measures were slowed down, particularly in California, Texas, and Florida, that would have a direct impact on the economic structure and potentially the market structure as well. And I think that's why we did see some concerns heading into the weekend. Now, as that narrative continues to unfold today, it feels like for the most part, those states are going to continue to move forward, and we're seeing reopening in other states. So the market digested that and was able to move beyond that, at least for the short term. Couple that with the central bank action as well. I think that's another big thing. Bank of England came out late last week with their bond buying measure, further stimulus. ECB now is in the process of trying to get their stimulus package closed up, or buttoned up, I should say, and they're moving towards that with the expectations that that will get initiated here in early July. And so there's continuing stimulus measures that are unfolding here, and I think that's another driving factor. Also, the tech sector, strong today. We did see some strength in those FANG names, or the majority of those FANG names, highlighted by Microsoft and Apple. And I think that was one of the catalysts here this morning why we did see the markets recover, and nicely when you look at certainly the NASDAQ futures, basically closing at all-time highs. Looking at, again, some of the other trends, I mentioned the NASDAQ futures, they're pushing the highs of the current price structure, but also the all-time highs, right around 10,123, I believe. But also the S&P 500 futures, a nice bounce back today. And again, stemming that downward trend that we did realize late last week. Now, 3118 is the level that I have. If we can see that September future close above 3118, and we're just about 9 points shy of that right now, that would potentially signal further upside, as that would reverse the short-term downtrend, and we most likely would challenge the high end of the range that we experienced 2 weeks ago with a close above 3118.